Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our new podcast. My name is Anas Santisi, a founder of Holistic Nutrition, and I have here.
Hi, everybody. I am Lori Veras. I am the Executive Director of Holistic Nutrition, and I am so pleased to introduce Michelle Cardimen. She is one of our premier coaches. Her specialty and her webinars, her education. She's got such a great background. But today she's going to speak with us, I hope, it was our plan, to talk about metabolic syndrome, diabetes, sugar, dysfunction. There's a lot. So, Michelle, welcome. I'm so happy you're able to join us and help educate the public on
Absolutely.
what we're doing and how we're doing it. And,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Please
Absolutely.
subscribe and like our podcast.
Yes. Thank you, Anas, for having me. And Lori, again, without Lori, I wouldn't be here because she invited me to be a part of Holistic Nutrition's program. But my journey to this place has been very long. I worked for 30 years as a registered nurse in many traditional settings. I worked not only in hospitals, but I worked in private practice, worked with corporate wellness, and I was basically frustrated and a little disillusioned because I would see people, and although their numbers may have appeared better with some prescription management, their overall health was declining. I wasn't seeing people actually get to a place where they were better. And as a result of that, I decided I couldn't even help myself. How could I help myself if, how could I help other people if I couldn't help myself? And that's when my journey into health coaching began with a couple different programs. One was a more holistic based, and then the other one was more the psychology of the mind and how we help people to make those small habit changes that become a part of their life. And through that, I found more and more that the principles of functional medicine were actually helping my clients to get better, quicker, and in a more natural way. And those same principles, once you have those and you have an understanding of how the body works, it's difficult to go back because when I worked in regular medicine, people would go to the doctor and they would get a prescription and the underlying situation was never addressed.
Absolutely.
And the prescription was merely that Band-Aid that we talk about.
So, as much you eat a lot of bad food, they inject more insulin. And then
Right.
this is something you are here to educate
Right.
people that you have to watch for your insulin injection because the side effect it's heart failure, kidney failures,
Right.
liver failures, and then from diabetes you go to heart surgery and then just go on and on.
Right.
So when you are diabetic, you have to sit down and then think about a underlying cause and then hire
Yes.
a coach that they are expert in and then we are so lucky to have you.
Thank
with
you.
all your experience you've been doing with people for 30 years.
Right. But my journey has been personal as well. And I think part of that began 26 years ago when my daughter was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is very different than type 2 diabetes.
Absolutely.
Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disorder where the body actually attacks the beta cells in the pancreas and they no longer can produce insulin.
I know.
And
You have to
as a
inject.
result, they have to use an injection. And what I didn't even know and understand as a nurse at that point was that only a portion of the insulin is for the food you're eating. There's another portion of insulin that you need on a regular basis for metabolic functions all throughout the body. So there's a long-acting and a short-acting insulin that people with type 1 diabetes need to take.
More management. So
Right.
if they eat too much, they inject too much.
Right. But
And then
insulin
if-
is a fat hormone, right? So
Absolutely.
if you get more insulin,
It's going to be locked in a fat.
then
So-
your body has to put it somewhere so the insulin moves that sugar into storage. And that's where we get into a lot of problems in type 2 diabetes, even though it's a different scenario, the body gets
insulin
exposed-
resistance.
Yes.
So
Gets
it
exposed-
accumulates. It's like storage.
Right. And then the insulin receptors that the insulin is like the key that allows sugar to move into the cells. When those receptors are bound up or resistant to using the insulin because there's too much sugar already in the cells, then that causes problems too. Then our bodies can't use that sugar. The extra sugar is floating around in the bloodstream, and then it gets moved by a mechanism that our body has in place on purpose, moved into fat storage.
Absolutely.
To
and
be
then
used
you
at
got
a
to-
later date. Unfortunately, we don't go through periods of famine like we used to, and so we continue to exacerbate that condition by overfeeding our bodies, and then our body becomes resistant to using the insulin effectively, and then it gets stored as fat in
So-
many different places.
So what you're saying is that people with diabetes not only get put on extra weight because they're eating if and when they're eating sugar, but they're also gaining weight because of the insulin.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's a double-edged sword.
It
I mean,
does.
so you're
Absolutely.
getting a medicine that is necessary, but it's making you gain weight also.
Yeah.
because
I don't think most people know that. I think that that's something that isn't really talked about.
Right.
So this is why we are here, to educate people about diabetes and the epidemic that we have. We are raising numbers in statistics, how Americans, they are all about first diabetes type 1, like Michelle said, type 2,
10%.
type 3, and then we have type 4. So in your webinar, when I watch it, so I practice a long time ago functional medicine, and then your webinar was like, oh my God, this is something people need to hear about. Can you please talk to us about, those kind of diabetes? And then also your question next is the underlying. It's not always about, food, or it's not all about calories. Can be toxin, can be stress, can be.
You're
Please.
giving her secrets away. Let her talk.
I know.
Oh, no.
Well-
Yes.
And I think that is what shocks most people. There's 10% of the people that have diabetes have type 1 diabetes, which is that autoimmune condition. There are 90% of people that have this type 2 diabetes, which is more related to insulin resistance. But then you have the type 1.5 diabetes, which is a latent autoimmune diabetes, which means people become insulin resistant, or they don't make insulin anymore, but later into adulthood. You have younger people, because of genetic backgrounds and lifestyle factors, that are developing a type 2 diabetes in their youth. But then you also have, like Anas had mentioned, type 3 diabetes, which is now being correlated to Alzheimer's disease because there's an insulin resistance that happens in the brain. It's a slightly different mechanism, but it still comes into play. And with the rising statistics of Alzheimer's, that's a very scary thing to think about. But one of the things I also shared was there's conditions such as double diabetes, where you can have someone who has an autoimmune diabetes diagnosis. They don't make insulin, but over years of them still consuming too much sugar,
Bad
they need
carbs.
more and more insulin, and then their receptors become less able to use even the insulin that they get by
That's-
injection.
This is
So
very
they have
bad.
a double diabetes.
Yeah, because you're giving them insulin, and you're giving
Right.
them too much.
Right. But then you can also have the type 2 diabetes, which is the insulin starts as insulin resistant, and then over a period of time, because of diet and lifestyle, they get a fatty liver. They can get a fatty pancreas. Guess where your insulin is made? It's made in your pancreas.
And then affect the
so-
brain, and then
And the pancreas is what makes the insulin for those people. So then they are less able to make insulin, and so they have a double diabetes situation as well.
And then also there is also the meridians. If you remember when we ran our health questionnaire, we
Yeah.
find the whole dental
Yes.
as something we need to check.
Right.
People with root canals probably, and then it's something dead in your body,
Right.
and then it's also accumulate a lot of bacteria. So there is a meridian between T2, it's a and a pancreas. So sometimes people, they don't produce this insulin because their pancreas, it's suffering from the bacteria that we don't know from where.
Right.
So our practice, it's based on meridians and then how the body works. So when we see a T2 that it has a meridian with pancreas and T2 it's infected with amalgams, with probably mercury, or you got a bacteria overgrowth in the mouth, that it can be one, not all, one of the causes.
Sure. Yeah.
And then also we have the range. Can you talk about the range, please? Because a lot of people, they go to their doctor and then they say, okay, 90, it's good.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
6.4 in your HbA1, it's like, it's good. But when you come to our numbers, it's going to be 5.2 or under. This is how it should be, because this is what we call a storage in a red cell, right?
Yes.
It's hemoglobin, right?
Right. So
It's
the
a
natural
storage of
process,
that, yes.
the natural process is that our red blood cells only last for about 90 days. And one of the tests that we use, and I want to start by saying that the blood values that we use in conventional medicine are based on a statistical norm of the entire population of not necessarily healthy people. When we look at those same values through the eye of functional medicine, we have an optimal range.
Absolutely.
And when many people, and they're always surprised when this happens, right? Their blood sugar's fine. The doctor looks at that regular standard norm, and if it's less than 100, they're thinking they're good to go. They can continue to
People,
eat the
they
way
are walking
that,
with the pre-diabetics and then they don't know about it.
Right,
And
and
they come to
actually-
you and tell them, hey, this is not right.
Right. And some people, there's underlying insulin resistance that can happen for up to 10 years
Wow.
before their actual blood sugar can become elevated. The body has compensated for so long that, and then when you look back over their lab values, we see the climb, right? We see it go from 95 to 96 to 97, and all of a sudden they're in shock because the hemoglobin A1C, which is that 3-month test, that's why it's valuable. You don't have to
stored.
be fast. You don't have to be fasting for that test, but it's stored over that 3-month period of time because that's how long it takes for those red blood cells to turn over.
And then also give you a prevention and then how it's going to be
Right.
3 months further.
Right.
So you have a picture, but this picture, it's not explained very well to a population.
Right.
It's why we are here, to share that our numbers, it's totally different numbers than what it's in the market. So I know a lot of people walking from their physician happy that they don't have nothing wrong because their numbers, it's okay because this is how the numbers they've been, But in functional medicine, we don't change any numbers. This is physiological, human being, how they're supposed to have. Like an example for a audience to understand, what the temperature in the body.
98.6.
Okay, if you have 90.7, you are not going to call it a hospital?
No.
This is a number, what I'm saying.
Right.
So why we don't change this number and change the other numbers? Because they are not affecting our body,
Right.
or because we have a lot of population, they are above, and then we don't want to make it a big deal.
Right.
You don't want to hurt people's feelings and tell them that they have to change their lifestyle. So, you think of the number of people that are approaching the high end of the glucose range. So we've talked here 95, 96, 97. When you hit 99 and above, okay, it's time to do something. It's time to write a prescription. However, if you come to functional medicine, our number's 90.
80.
80. But so if there's in a range, we'll say, you can prevent the continual climb, as Michelle said. You can watch it go over 1 year, 95, 96. It's going to happen if you don't change things. So
Absolutely.
I love that we are on the preventative side and can predict
Absolutely.
if you don't change, this is what's going to happen. And when it comes to diabetes and glucose and sugar, it affects every single cell in your body.
Absolutely.
From your toes, I mean, you hear of people having amputation, to your eyes, to your brain that Michelle mentioned earlier, your liver, your every
Side
organ.
effect.
Well, and that, so people need to know that there are ways to prevent the
Absolutely.
continuing.
It can be reversed. And then this is a lot of people, they will be like, I am diabetic, I cannot reverse or make myself healthy again. And then this is my genetics.
Yeah.
And then this is very wrong because we don't inherit a cell from our ancestors. We actually transform our genes because they are more soaked in a broth what we eat, and then it's a good.
I love that line.
You
Say
know,
that again.
Well, our genes, they are soaked in a broth of what we eat.
Yes.
So if I heritage a heart disease from my dad, because I am following the tradition of my dad. My dad do bacon in the morning, do that, or just like an example. My dad doesn't do that, but I'm just saying for anyone, anyone that has this fear of a heritage, no. You heritage a disease if you heritage a lifestyle. So if you change your lifestyle, you are changing everything. You are changing your genes. Genes, they have actually a destiny. So this is why it is possible to get out from diabetes. What do you think, Michelle, about that?
I absolutely am the perfect example of this because I have a family history of type 2 diabetes as well. My grandfather and my mom both have type 2 diabetes. My brother was recently diagnosed also with a cancer diagnosis, which is interesting because a blood sugar that's not controlled is more prevalent in people with cancer because cancer survives in that more acidic environment, which is a more sugary,
I am glad that you bring acidic
environment.
So go back to Dr. Otto when he said back in 1931 in his a medical journal, an acidic body, it has disease. An alkaline body never get cancer or sick. Right. So anybody with diabetes, they have this acidity. So that's genes where they are. They are soaking in acidic environment.
Right.
So when you get this acidic to alkaline environment, everything is gonna change. Your color of age, your skin, your life, your everything. This is why I wanna give hope to everybody. Everything can be changed if you change your genes.
I think we should not overlook the huge amount of population that have pre-diabetic.
Right. 84 million in the United States have type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes.
And then they think they don't have help. And then they think like that.
They lose hope. And I think that that's important for us to consider is that our body wants to be healthy. We have mechanisms in place to put off those disease processes and to manage them for a period of time. But if lifestyle factors bring us to a disease process, then lifestyle factors can also reverse that same disease process. Unfortunately, we're not educated. We don't have the support that we need to really implement those strategies. And I think that's where a place like functional medicine can not only identify those people before it becomes a disease process, we can catch it in those moments of insulin resistance.
Absolutely.
And then prevent all of the other disease processes that happen before you even get to diabetes. There are some people that have insulin resistance. Their first symptom might be high blood pressure. Their first symptom might be a fatty liver. Their first symptom might be gallbladder issues. And they have no idea that those are all predisposing factors to diabetes, but then that they all have a common denominator with insulin resistance. And that's where my goal is to really help catch those people at those critical junctures in their life where they can do something before it develops into a disease process. Or worse, metabolic dysfunction is when something's just happening with your blood sugar, Metabolic syndrome is what happens when all of a sudden your heart is involved and you're storing that extra body fat,
Kidneys
the high
and
the high
adrenal.
cholesterol, those high triglyceride levels that we talk about. It's a multi-symptom issue at that point, and we talk about that as metabolic syndrome. And there's signs all the way through that we can, at any point, stop and reverse any of those disease processes.
Absolutely. And then you remember, Lori, our guest last week was Ted, and then he has a beautiful analogy when he said about the car and the fuel.
Yes.
You remember?
I love that.
I love it. So our human is like designed for a certain food. And then everything change when we change processed food to a natural food. So we are giving to our body something it's not fueling us.
I like to tell the audience that if you drive a wonderful, fancy sports car, and you need to put high test, I call it high test, that's a Canadian term, sorry. But if you put the high premium's the word.
Yeah.
If you put the premium gas in, that's what it calls for, to run that. Would you go and put diesel in that car?
We'll get broken.
Exactly.
This is why we have a broken nation.
Yes.
Right.
Because we got a lot of processed food in there, full of chemicals and then full of preservatives, because we want that food to last longer. And this is something that we need to check
Colors,
with our patients.
trans fats. I mean,
fats.
the list goes on and on and on.
And then a lot of media, when they bring, you have heart disease, fat, it's bad for you.
Yes.
Oh my
that was a
God,
problem.
it's a big problem because our body
the
starves
70s.
the fatty acids. Our body,
Well,
it's very,
They
very
call them
starving.
essential fatty acids because our body can't make them. We have to ingest them.
Right.
And we have a whole generation of people that went from not eating any healthy fats. They eliminated them and they switched to more sodium, more sugar. And guess what? As a nation, we became overweight and our diabetes statistics just skyrocketed.
And then
during that
what's
time. And heart disease as a result.
What bothered me, I have a client in Florida, and then he had a surgery in his heart. So when I ran his test, he was like more very low in good fats. And then I told him, I said, the fundamental of nutrition, you need a good essential fatty acid. And then he told me, my doctor told me to not eat any fats because I have a high cholesterol. Can you please open the brain to the population?
I know. And
I know it's big
what
subject. I mean,
even as a nurse for many, many years, I didn't realize the importance of cholesterol in our body. And the fact that cholesterol is actually an anti-inflammatory.
it's good for you.
It's actually good for you and needed in some ways. And that's how our body is compensating. But there's different kinds of sugar, right? There's fructose, which we get in fruit. And a lot of people then all of a sudden become afraid of eating fruit. But fructose is very different than regular sugar. It doesn't go straight to your bloodstream. It doesn't have the same insulin impact. It goes to your liver and gets transformed into triglycerides. But fruits also have fiber and they have antioxidants. They have many good qualities, and so people have become afraid of eating fruit.
Absolutely.
Where some of those other foods that are out there, our body doesn't even recognize as food. Our body recognizes them as a toxin. And then that puts stress on our body because our body has to get rid of these foreign foods, and so we use up nutrients and we use up other cofactors, getting rid of these non-food items.
Right.
And then
Like
we're
hydrogen
depleted
oils.
by functioning more naturally with normal metabolic functions.
So when we talk about fats, this is a big problem. It's huge because a lot of people, when they have high cholesterol, they say, hey, no fat. I am already in high cholesterol, what you're talking about. We need to understand there is two kinds of cholesterol. There is a good and the bad. So when the cholesterol occurred in our body, that make us feel like You know why? Because you are under inflammation, and then we have this cholesterol come in to cool down this inflammation. So that's cholesterol that you are going to add to your body, eat medicine, such as olive oil, coconut oil, grapeseed oils, avocados, and then the list goes on. But you have to stop eating the, saturated fats, such as hydrogen oil, frying things, and then this is why we want to educate people to understand that the fat is very important.
And helps you to feel full, right?
Absolutely.
Helps you to feel satisfied.
Absolutely. And then help your skin, help everything. And just to let the audience understand the fundamentals of nutrition, they are based in good fat and the good carbs and good protein. And then this is the column of the whole things. So if you are eating a good carbs and then good protein, and then you are not having a good fat, that means you are not getting a whole nutrition.
Right.
This
It's all
is
about the balance.
it's all about the balance, especially with those people with diabetes and they need equality. I see people, Lori, with people when they got a low sugar, they will grab Coca-Cola.
Of course. I mean, they're at a low. And so when you're at a low, your brain is not, I'll call it functioning correctly. Like you just make an impulsive, you make an impulse type of a decision right then and there, and you go for something fast.
I know you worked with a lot of patients with diabetes. It's why I ask you this question. What's your answer when their sugar is low? When sugar is low, what you are going to tell them to do?
Eat
the right food.
And eat the right foods. Have snacks available. I mean, I have to tell you that I've been working with this one client, and I don't think she was truthful at the beginning, but I got a text recently, and the text said, "It's huge. I have been able to stay off gluten for 5 days straight."
Because high carbohydrates.
So she was sending the conversation that way. But at the very end, she says, "I have to tell you, I've only had one Coke in the last 4 days. And I used to, this is huge because I used to have 5 or 6 a day." And so, it takes a while for the light bulbs to go off, to say, I'm ready to change. If I continue down this path, in fact, this lady had already had the banding around her stomach. So she knows she's been living this for a long time, and she's young. So it just put such a smile on my face that she's been able to correlate and put the information together that we've been working with. And that's why sometimes I say, come work with us for a month, but sometimes it takes 3, sometimes it takes 6.
So you have to start them somewhere because a lot of
them.
people, they don't know what they are going to get. I think 1 month to try us and see if functional medicine is right for you. So this is why I like 1 month. Sometimes they don't take it serious.
Well, she's come back. She's actually come back is what kind of has happened, because she wasn't really truly ready to start. She thought she was, but it's a process. And I love what Michelle always says: we'll meet them where they are. And
absolutely,
yes, because it's very important to be ready.
Right, and there needs to be that mindset shift first. But I think what I just even recently read was, it really only takes about 2 weeks of bad eating to start developing that fatty liver. Yeah. And what that looks like is maybe 2 little packages of candy, extra pop or soda, and a glass of juice. 1,000 extra calories that are more concentrated in sugar over a period of 2 weeks is really all you need to start developing that fatty liver that we were talking about. That is one of the beginning signs. That's the holiday season, right? I mean, 2 weeks of extra sugar every single day for a period of time can easily set people off into this mode. So even if during, a special
Halloween
time or
start the whole year,
weeks, it's important for people to remember that one day is different than consecutive days, consecutive weeks. And if we can make a difference in just even breaking up those days, we're making an impact.
You know what bothers me, Michelle? Sugar has hundreds of names, and then the population, they are so confused
Right.
about sugar, fructose, corn syrup, all this process, and then actually it's not sugar.
Right.
It's not sugar. Like aspartame, for example, it's a substance made.
Right.
Fake.
And then it tastes sugar. And then people, when they taste sugar, what they think? This is sweet.
And it tricks our body
And
into
then
making
even they have zero calories.
making insulin. I mean, just because you don't have sugar doesn't mean you don't have a reaction with your body producing more insulin. And that's why a lot of people will drink a diet soda and have more sugar cravings later, because they actually have a rise in their insulin levels. And then they're trying to satisfy that
This pleasure.
rise in insulin with more food. And it becomes a very vicious cycle, not to mention the fact that a lot of those fake sugars affect our gut microbiome.
Absolutely.
And
Cause
they
cancer.
cause
This is
havoc
what I
there.
read a lot of articles about
Right.
those sugar. Just when you see sugar, investigate what kind of sugar. Humans, they taste and then we'll be like, okay, it's sweet, it's sugar, but it's not. My favorite thing is to eat sugar and then go work out. So you get a natural sugar from fruit that you are talking about, and then you are burning that sugar. It has a ability. Your workout has the ability to burn the calories.
Sure.
So when you eat a fake sugar, working out, it's not going to help you because your body, it doesn't recognize that food, it's real, come from the tree or from the ground, soil. What it does, it keep it as toxin inside the body.
Right.
And then it's, after time and time, you'll be like, oh, I have cancer. Well, it didn't come overnight. Or I am diabetic. It didn't come from overnight. I see that a lot in patients, especially when they come with a chronic disease. And then I will be like, this is something that you need to work on for the rest of your life. If you like to be, happy and healthy, and then you are not going through dialysis and then heart surgery. This is the prevention. This is your time. And then I think this year 2020, it's the year of a transformation for the whole population. I open the TV, I see functional medicine friends, Facebook, and then all the social media, everybody doing their part. And then we doing our part to change the world and change the habit and then the thinking. Because the media actually play a crucial role on keeping everything okay. And that's why we have this freedom to come to talk to you face to face and then tell you about what's going on in the industry of food and in general how we see the disease as a just a symptom.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to mention is when people die of cardiac arrest or they die of heart disease, it usually starts with a prediabetes or diabetes.
Absolutely. I have a great case study. I don't know if I will share it. I have to talk to my wife about that.
Because it's a family member. It's not her.
it's her dad actually passed away, and then it started when he was in his late 30s, 39. He started pre-diabetes. And then from there, he started to take medication from diabetes, from diabetes to heart disease, to kidneys, to. And then I remember this guy, God bless him, we spent great time together, 20 years of great family, great guy. But he died on a kidney transplant.
Sure.
So he was on the kidney transplant from pre-diabetes to heart disease to kidneys. So he was about probably 6 or 7 years on the list when they call him. He came and then he just died in there. They call him we find our kidney. It's very sad, and then it's a warning for everyone. This is like what you just said. This is how it starts, right?
Yeah, and I think what people forget is almost everybody's walking around. They know that our whole society is we eat pounds of sugar, pounds of sugar. I used to be a chocolatier, and I wouldn't even add sugar into my chocolate, and people loved it because it was not overloaded. But I had to get away from that business. Really, I did.
I know,
because
it's just very sad.
Yeah.
Back in 1970, one of our president died from a heart attack. I don't want to mention any of that, but just an example, what I did for my father-in-law. When they think that the fat who killed him, so what they start to do, they blame the fat on his heart,
Right.
and then everybody start to scrub all the good fat from the food and then replace it with the sugar. So now everything processed doesn't have a good fat, but it adds sugar to make it sweet, and then all this processed sauces, and then this is what we have. And then that need to change.
one of the things we need to do as a society is start to cook again.
That's
And
gonna
I-
be
Family
great.
dinner, yeah.
Family
That would be
dinner,
great.
and you know, bulk cooking like on the weekend when you have everybody around. So it's not this stressful evening event like, oh my goodness, what am I going to serve tonight? So
Absolutely. This is what we do in our cooking class. When we have the people, we show them how they plan their meals, cook big, and then portion it. And then you have meals already done, organic. You put a family effort in it, and then you put a love in it. And then you...
That's the secret ingredient,
Yeah,
right?
This is
the
secret.
love.
It's a love.
secret
That's
sauce.
right.
The secret sauce.
Secret sauce.
Gonna sneak that in on podcast.
Absolutely. We have every podcast a secret sauce, right? This is our secret today.
She
is
is.
an expert. I love the way how she worked, and I love the way how she bringed all this topic together and focusing with the group. I saw your group on Facebook.
Yeah, that's very exciting, isn't it? You don't have to do this alone. I think
know.
so many people lose faith in themselves and they think it's too hard and the prescription is easy, and or they've been told that they can't get off their medicine from the doctor. They go back in with a hope that maybe they would be able to reverse it, and the doctor is basically, saying, no, this is kind of
Well, they don't
This
have
is
the
your
tools.
life,
They-
basically. But we love
Right,
doctors.
but if we can
love them.
educate
Probably
people-
just they don't have probably the same education what we
Right. The
got.
tools.
can-
We
if-
don't have the they don't have the tools.
if
and the
we can
education.
educate people and then also support them. And I thought it was really sweet that I read an article yesterday saying that health coaching is now in the top 10 health trends going into 2020, and I hope that's true.
Oh, it will be.
because I really feel like that's the missing gap that we have with our healthcare system right now, is people need to
Actually,
know
very
how
good
they
solution.
how can I apply this to my life with the current circumstances that I have?
Yeah.
And how can we help to meet them exactly where they're at and make that Ted talked about last week. It's a journey. It's not an overnight fix.
No.
It takes our body years to develop a disease process. It's not going to happen overnight where we can fix people. And we're such a society of quick fixes that we want that pill or
Everything
something.
easy.
Yeah. And it takes time. And when we step out of the way and let our body have the right conditions it needs, our bodies actually know how to heal.
Actually, it's
We
so
need
kind
to-
of you to open this group. So it's free,
Right. Absolutely. And
And then
support and
you post
education.
every day a post about how, and
Right.
then peer-to-peer always give an opportunity to share.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you share your experience in the comment, you come down in the evening and then you interact and then you answer all
Right.
these questions. You are not alone. We are a group, and then this group only for those people that suffer from the same thing.
Right.
So it's the same group what we have with Tanya and Ted with their stress, and then the same group what we have with autoimmunity with Kathy.
Yeah.
Those groups, they are wonderful. I love the education, and then how knowledgeable you are about the topic, and how those people they love to interact with you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. This is
Thank
great.
you, Anas, for
And then-
having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And then we want actually all the coaches in America to more open mind to this way, our pathology. So the pathology, it means a cause of disease. not only the symptoms. And then this is our pathology. I invite actually all the coaches to come to you and then help them.
Yes.
So long time ago, I like what I mentioned, I was a one-man show. Without Lori, I won't have this wonderful team. And then you just start with it.
Right.
Lori, who's here, you are getting a general. You are getting great, opportunity to help more.
It's been so wonderful just to see the changes in the coaches, not to mention the patients.
Of course.
But, the coaches were well on their way and with their background and their education, and now they've just flourished. It's been so wonderful to watch.
So any coach, you invite them to contact you, and then you will help them on their journey, and then practice with us, right?
Yes.
We want as much practitioners, coaches in our team. We have Dr. Sodano, we have Dr. Grisanti, we have physicians. We work as a team. Coaches, they are more about 101, and then be patient with their client, be lovely, give the the hand out. They have everything comes from their team. They only focus what they need to do. And then this is why I love our team. Anything you can tell about the team, and then how we are working, and then before you were working with yourself, and then when you start to work with us, what's the difference?
It's actually huge. Again, I've been on my own health journey. I've done my own research for many, many years, have gone through some transformation processes with my health coaching education and just changing my mindset, and also starting that more holistic lifestyle. But I think the key has been really, there's so many programs that you can attend that you get the knowledge, but you don't have somebody that's personally coaching you. And I think that's where it's really beneficial, because all of us have blind spots, right? We all need a coach, because
absolutely.
You
Thank you, Lori, for coaching me.
You can't see where your own.
I just have a session with you 2 days ago, and then hey, thank God for that.
We all need a coach.
We all need a coach, and we all do better with a coach. But I think with holistic nutrition, I've been able to, for myself, dive a little deeper into the gut microbiome, dive a little deeper into toxicity. And this may be off subject, but I do have some heavy metal toxicity. And then there was something that just came out. My childhood home area is affected with lead at this time. And my lead level was high. So it's interesting, how long has this been going on that we didn't even know about it. And, to be able to educate people potentially in that area to, overcome some of those other toxins that might be at play.
It's not out of the topic. Actually, you are great to mention that, because we have a special test, what we call the RBC. Red blood cell test to understand the heavy metals. It's a little different than a serum. A lot of people, their magnesium, for example, from the serum test shows good.
Right.
But it's not absorbing in the red cell where it should be, where it's helping the heart.
Right.
So there's people with dark eyes, anxiety, and then all that. When we figure out your magnesium, no, my doctor did my magnesium, I was good. So we put it as a flyer to make people understand, even your magnesium come from your serum, it's good. Hey, order a red blood cell test for heavy metals. And then we find out a lot of people with pre-diabetes, actually they have problems underlying cause as a toxin from leads or from mercury from their dental. Talk to us about that. I think you have like over 100 people with that.
Oh, we have a lot of patients.
I love this case study that you shared with us one Thursday's meeting about the guy. He was with mercury, and
I was going to say that one came to my mind.
Because it's always put in my mind to this. It's great. And then the guy now, he is happy. He's out of his medications. He's awesome. I mean, and then what the cause? Go ahead.
I mean, when we got back his first set of blood results, and we tied it to his health history. That multi-page questionnaire we talk about, they fill in 13 pages and we get a document of 38. Metabolic issues are in there, blood sugar is in there, and one of the major complaints is high blood sugar. However, also signs of MS. So is it really MS? Is it high blood sugar?
It's metabolic, right?
Right.
Yes, and
Multifaceted.
multifaceted. So it ended up that he really has mercury poisoning, which is likely causing the metabolic issues, diabetes or pre-diabetic.
Multiple sclerosis.
Yeah, and also the high blood pressure. So everything is tied together, and I think that's using diabetes as the example here. And I mean, I have several friends and who have had amputation on toes and or start to go blind, and you name it, it's all over the body, like you said, liver, etc. So you can have one disease, but it affects everywhere, and there's several underlying causes.
Absolutely.
And you might come into the doctors one week and say, I have MS, or you've been diagnosed with MS, but they don't look at all the other things and really what caused what. So we've been really happy and pleased to work with this gentleman.
So he has mercury dental problem from long time, and then he was playing with mercury when he was a kid, and then this is show us all his life when he was a little from his birth, if C-session or not, what he was doing, and then we find out that his mercury actually it's the underlying cause of his diabetes.
I hope to have him on a podcast one day.
Please.
That's my goal. And he's a wonderful gentleman. I just think it's wonderful. And they have tried everything. So they have actually moved around from doctor to doctor to doctor, focusing on symptoms. And when I explained to them what we did, their eyes just lit up and said, I really think this is the missing link. So it's been fun, hasn't it, Michelle?
There was a whole fun for the whole year working as team, and lovely. You call me, I call you. We get to Zoom. We fix problems. We do case studies together.
We're detectives.
We are detectives.
Right.
So this is very nice. Very, very, very nice. So the diabetes, it's not only a sugar issue or a diet issue. It also can be linked to toxins,
stress, hormonal
emotional
issues.
But
you can have psychological stress and physiological stress.
Absolutely.
But our body can't tell the difference. So if we have a stress response with those release of adrenaline or epinephrine and cortisol, that can then interfere with every other hormone system.
Absolutely. Cortisol high, that means hypothalamus, adrenal, and pituitary.
Absolutely. And how many people do we see on a regular basis with adrenal issues?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's across the board. And there are things that regular doctors are not looking at within the lab values that are clues to us that we can look at that and see if somebody's adrenals are stressed and if they maybe need some additional support. Not to mention, you talked about earlier, any medication that you're taking is like a toxin to your body. It needs other metabolic processes, other cofactors to get rid of that extra whatever it is in the body. And a lot of those medications, while they take care of a symptom, they can be causing havoc in another system because of the detoxification and the elimination of those medications.
Absolutely. And then I would love to share with everyone here the check what we do. We have a will and the cause of disease, what we call pathology. And then also I find out lately that it's a big things about 5G and then electromagnetic field and then how it affects our body, and then it can be also one of the underlying cause of diabetes. Especially we have today, it's a diabetes with the expert Michelle, so why not get all those underlyings to make people understand this is not just one thing I'm going to do with my own. No, it's why in previous in a previous podcast, we mentioned, that you need a coach.
Well, there's so much information out there, right? And it's nice to have somebody else that will help you to navigate through all of that information to apply it to your individual person.
Everything,
Because
it's bio
everybody
it's
is different.
Everybody has his own DNA.
Right. And
Especially-
one person, it could be their food. Another
Absolutely.
person, it could be an infection.
Yeah.
It could be so
Mold.
different for every single person.
You know, Dr. Hyman, he was one of my favorite, one of my, gurus in functional medicine. Probably he's the older one. When he saw my interview with Rooney, I got a good comment.
Oh, good.
So what he did, he was sick too. And then he didn't practice for 2 years. This is
Right.
his story.
Right.
And then we were, where is Dr. Hyman? He was like great guy online, and ask him questions, he'll answer. Now he has also a podcast like us, and then he is sharing. When I asked why he was sick, because he lived in a home, in his basement, find mold.
Right.
And then he is a doctor. He is an MD doctor. He understands both sides, And then one day he went to another friend.
Yeah.
And then this is why I'm saying, even you are a doctor, come to see us.
Right. We have blind spots.
Right. You are an MD doctor. Come see us. Like what happened to Dr. Hyman, poor guy. He was suffering, sitting in at home for 2 years. When he get out to a population, depressed, they find out that he got a mold in his basement. And then he been working on that. Thank God we have Dr. Hyman back. Right?
Love him. Yeah.
This is why we want also those practitioners. If you feel something, please be a part of our group, our team.
And if you have patients that you are having trouble helping, you just do not see them getting better, never hurts. Send them our way. We'll help investigate the underlying cause, because we're not a single organ focus. We are a whole body focus.
Mind, body, spirit. And then also I want to mention my friend Michelle about the magnitude of a meditation.
Oh, yeah.
So I know people, I know a lot, people that they work with us, and then they did everything, and then we still have this problem with them, and then we come back, hey, you are not activating your pineal gland. You are not activating, because this is kind of like what we talked last week about, everything about, glands, and then endocrinology. And then we have a small piece like P in our brain. When we meditate, we have this love, and then actually we get a lot of nutrition from this meditation.
Right.
And then what the importance when you work with your client, and then you give them the protocol, the not supplements, we talk about botanical, right?
Botanicals, yeah.
And then it's our nutraceuticals.
Yep, nutraceuticals. Yep.
Yeah. So those, even they got the lifestyle, they got the exercise, they got everything. And then they are losing this meditation process. They do better, really?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, again, the pineal gland, which you talked about, is strengthened through meditation. That is one of the processes. But there's a lot of people who aren't sleeping well at night, and our bodies need sleep in order to heal. And when you have high levels of stress, or you're always in that sympathetic dominant state, that cortisol level overrides the melatonin, which is also produced in the pineal gland. And if we can help the pineal gland to function more optimally, we can produce more of that natural melatonin. And then we also shift out of that sympathetic state into a parasympathetic state. That parasympathetic state is what allows us to rest and digest. And as Tanya and Ted know, who work with fertility, it helps you to reproduce, because our body is not going to reproduce if it's afraid for its life.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So we want to shift from that sympathetic dominant state to a parasympathetic state in order to heal.
also you are saying that
and absorb our nutrients in our
sleep
food.
is very important.
Yes.
And meditation. If you meditate, very good. And then you have this hormone,
Right.
pineal gland, it's secreting those neurotransmitter. They are helping the body to balance as
Right.
homeostasis.
Yes, and we need that pineal gland is responsible for regulating our circadian rhythm, our
Absolutely.
sleep and wake cycles. And
This is very
that's very
important.
important.
Very, very important.
We've touched on a lot
We have
today.
talked about a lot.
So it's a huge problem. I mean, we can sit here for 3-4 hours without
Yes.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I will invite everybody to Michelle's page.
Yes,
And then
absolutely.
thank you so much for coming here
you.
and then sharing with us your expertise. You have also a Facebook page.
Yes.
You got a your
Webinar.
webinar, and then you are promising to give more to people that they are coming to your group in Facebook. They can ask any question. You
Yes.
are there for them, and then they don't have to pay anything until they got more nutrition and they are ready.
They're ready.
And then they can,
a free discovery session at
this
any
is-
time from my website page at
30
Holistic
minutes.
Nutrition. Where we can focus just 100% on you and 30 minutes of time to help unravel and solve some of those underlying conditions and see if there's a program that we have that's right for that
Absolutely.
particular person to
Absolutely.
help
I think
uncover
we-
some of those.
We need to have Michelle back again. There's like so much
Oh my
in her
God.
brain.
That subject, like what I said, it's
Yeah.
huge. And then it's not only type 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. I can get you 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Everything it's based on this insulin hormone. Everything in the body. How when it does affect, it affects the whole body. So it's like what you said, yes. We need to invite Michelle more and more to share with us different topics, bring with us the underlying cause, share with the population more about this disease. And then it's not a symptom that you need to just cover with some medication or insulin or whatever. It's a lifestyle, and then it's a check and being detective.
Yes.
Thanks, Dr.
everyone.
Gasanti, for training us how be detective.
Right.
And there is also a website, Be Detective or Medical Detective for Dr. Gasanti. He shared a 12 case studies, one of them about diabetes. And you can also check our website. And if you are going to be a health coach, we have the whole school. So you are going to learn about every little detail about this diabetes issue.
And our school is really an internship. I think it's a wonderful program that you get to go through and learn as you practice. And
Absolutely.
then when you graduate and you've transformed, we have a practice ready for you, ready to go,
Absolutely.
and a marketing plan.
And then
We're
they have
excited.
also their webinar, their teaching, and then they are come back to our school to be more educator.
Yeah.
Now we have Michelle as a educator.
That's right.
And we have Tanya
And you'll
as
be
an
on a
educator.
podcast.
And then we are in a podcast. Well, I choose the podcast. We choose it because people need that.
Oh, it's wonderful to listen, especially when you're driving. That's when I listen to mine the most. But I will also say we're also going to have various guests coming in the future through Zoom, and we can bring them in on the television, so they don't have to be right here in town.
So we are going to bring all those people from the other state and then Zoom with them in here while we are doing podcast.
Correct.
This is great. I didn't know that it's possible. See, I love technology.
That's why we're a team. We all add a bit.
Absolutely, we complete each other, and then that's great. Thank you so much, Michelle Cardimen, for coming and sharing with everyone your expertise. And then thank you, everyone, for watching this podcast about diabetes. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.